Warriors Unite! Back with another episode of Mega Warriors 2 in the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are on your purposes. Hope you guys are conquesting yourselves and conquesting things around you. It is great to be with you guys again. The power is running through us over and over again, day by day. And it continues, my friends. Continue your quest for greatness. Continue your quest to get things better, high value, get your goals done, and continue to move on. Move on. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to do a talk today about having strong sexual energy is mandatory during SR. But well, first, let me do a couple of shout outs here before we do that. Let's see where we're at on my list here. JK, latest news. Thank you, my friend. Giodude, thank you as usual. Cvato, thank you, my friend. Jessewatt, thank you. J4STEJ, thank you. Warpath Buckness, thank you. Sultanjob, thank you. Oleg, as usual, thank you. Weslage, thank you. And Patrick Paisley, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. All right, so we're going to talk about something. This comes from Solarpowered African and Vegan SP. Thank you for that topic. Let's talk about this for a few seconds. Okay, so why is it important? And then we're at the 1:30 mark here as we talk about this. Why is this important to have great sexual energy during SR? Now, let's kind of take a step back. I'm going to go back, and I always mention this book. I don't get a chance to mention it every video, but most videos I do. Going back to a book that affected me back in 1998. When I first started this journey. Now, I haven't really kind of accentuated and, really went full force until about 5 years ago when I started doing monk mode. But at that time, I had a lot of football injuries. I had lots of things going on. I was in my late 30s, something like that. And I didn't think I was going to live very long. I really didn't, because I had too many pains, aches, and things like that. I was sick a lot, things like that. So I looked for something, and I found I was darn lucky. And I think God was giving me some message here. I was darn lucky and found a book at a Goodwill. We had just kind of walked through to kind of just see what was going on. And it was called The Fountain of Youth by Peter Kenlon. And this was a 1985 version of the book. And it was a number of years old. But I read the book. And now they've had, obviously, more updated books that you can buy, online and things like that now. But I read this book, and I became fascinated by this book. Because the whole idea is that you had to take a step back. All these things we're being told in society about releasing energy all the time, all these things we're talking about by having sex all the time, going back to, the me generation and living for yourself and all these pleasures you can have out there, going back to things like the Rat Pack, all these great people sitting out there having sex parties all the time, things like this. This is the life. This was success. Told us in many ways through society, through media, and all these other things. So I struggle with that because that was not my upbringing. And a strong religious person that I became after I went through a lot of problems in high school and college. I did not believe any of this stuff. And so when I was in my late 30s, I recognized the importance of this book. And though I was not I wasn't a Tibetan monk, I recognized the beauty and the intelligence of what was going on here. And what Kendler was saying was that we were all energy, and that basically there's a number of chakras in our system, and that basically if we did some exercises, we would continue to read those chakras, and chakras would continue to move fast. And moving fast means that you are still youthful. And if you let those chakras go and you didn't exercise and you didn't do those exercises, you eventually could die, as death will eventually come to us at some point because the chakras will slow down. So that was what I believed in, and I still believe in that very strongly. But I do the exercises every day. I've been doing them since 1998. However, the sixth one was the one that I got into eventually, and I've seen this now more recently over the last 5 years or so. I think I'm up to 1,700 days or something like that. So around 4 or 5 days, right before the pandemic started, I really started looking at this book and saying, okay, I'm almost 59 years old. I said, I don't really, I don't have it. I mean, I'm not going to lose anything at this point. I'm just going to go cold turkey and go monk mode. And so basically what I said I was going to do is says, okay, I'm just not going to release at all. I'm not going to bother with it. I'm not even going to think about it, and do the best I can to avoid all doing that. And as a result of that, I started reading more intently into that book of Kendler, and Keller was talking about the fact that the sixth one was become superhuman. You can be strong with the 5, and you can, and that's what I did for, many, many years, up until about 5 years ago. And then 5 years ago, I said, okay, let me go ahead and think about this monk mode, but more importantly, think about this 6th exercise he was talking about. And what he's talking about, as I did more research on this, was the whole idea of retention and transmutation. The 6th rite is where you have to control your sexual urges. And now I finally realized that the semen retention we're talking about really is what is making you young and strong for males. Making you young and strong. And females, I'm guessing the same thing happens. I'm not a female, of course, so I don't know for sure. But for males, I know that in my case, it's made me a lot stronger physically, even at 60, almost 64 years old pretty soon, but continuing to build off of what I did over and over the last few years. And so what happens then is that as you hold that, your energy becomes stronger. Now, Keller also says in the book, he talks about the fact that you have to have sexual energy to transmute. So you cannot be wasting your sexual energy away, which is what a lot of people in the society do. Because we're told and we're given this false illusion, again, this blue matrix sitting out there, of the idea that you should be sitting there having sex all night long. If you're not, what's wrong with you, right? What's wrong with you for not having intercourse, or at least, releasing all the time? You should be doing that 4 or 5 times a day. I mean, there's lots of people now in the early 20 years old, 21, 22, that have sexual dysfunctions because they're releasing all the time, 4 or 5 times a day sometimes, and eventually that's not going to be good for you. Now, obviously, as we talk about all the time on the channel, the only time I indicate that you should be releasing at all is for procreation. Now, you can still have intimacy, and we've talked about that as well, but the idea really is that you should be using that energy to transmute that. And we've had in those videos that I've done on this transmutation before as well. You should transmute that stuff to the rest of your body. So that's why in the exercise he does, number 6, he has your hands on your hips and you're forcing that energy through. So if you get excited about something, instead of course releasing, you're taking some deep breaths, you're breathing up, you're bringing that up through your system, and now you're transmuting that through your system. So that sexual energy becomes part of your system again, and now it can heal, it can do a lot of things to make you stronger. I don't know, I've not been sick, especially miss a day of work, I think since 2002 or something like that. I can't remember anymore. Even through the pandemic and all that, everything was great. There was no problems at all. And I attribute all that really to the fact that I'm able to control that energy now that I didn't have before. I couldn't do it before. And it's only because I've gotten a little more wiser and understanding what the principle is now as time has gone on. And to the grace of God, being able to follow his word and trying to transmute. And he's saved me in many, many cases, right? And still saving me in many cases. So I pray and meditate on this all the time to give me the strength to continue doing this and to keep getting the benefits from it. But as the question going back to, I think it was the Solarpowered African Vegan SP said, the whole thing is that you need to have sexual energy to transmute. So that means that as you start your journey, if you're going to become the superhuman, the superman that you can become, as we can all become, and have power unlimited. I mean, I feel like you have so much power that it's overwhelming at times, even doing this for 5 years. And that's because you are using all that energy for different purposes. It could be achieving goals, could be working out. It could be, working in your yard, whatever it might be. You have a lot more energy to do things now than you had before. And so after we get done with this, I just coming back from working, I'm going to go work out myself. I wanted to do a tape because I thought this was an interesting topic that was brought up. And so we should probably delve into it as we're talking about it. So I wanted to do that before I had a chance to work out. But the idea, guys, is that you have to have sexual energy. So that means that right now, at this moment, you should stop and not release. Unless you're going to have children with somebody. And then after you get done with that and you've been successful, then stop releasing. Because all that energy you're wasting could be start of a new cycle in which you become superhuman. And, a lot of people joke about it. They think it's wrong. This is a fairy tale. All this is wrong. But I keep seeing comments, and you guys are great in comments, and thank you guys for all the comments. Thank you guys for all the likes and all the things that we see. And I'm going to do another streaming one pretty soon here. I haven't done one for a long time, but summertime comes, I think I'm going to do some more. But the thing is they talk about the fact that, this is real. We're not talking about some fake type of stuff here. We're talking about, and I believe it's real. Now, you may think that I'm kind of crazy with this, but I'm not. I mean, I see the difference, and all you got to do is look at the difference in myself as time has gone on too. I've lost 75 pounds. I'm a lot more leaner than I used to be and getting better, getting closer to 6-pack of abs. I'm trying to get to the fourth ab. I'm getting closer. I just got a little more of the stomach fat, but we're getting there. We're getting there, right? And I'm fasting and nice fasting this break over no diet pop, no bread, trying to get away from a lot of the breads and everything and trying different methods to get to where I want to go. But at 63, 64 years old, I feel unbelievable. And if I could do that at my age, and I wish I would have started this when I was 20s. I wish I would have known all this. I mean, I'm just passing this on because I know lots of young men out there, a lot of older men, that could use at least 10, 15, 20 years, no matter how long you end up living. This stuff will help you live longer. And this is why we talk about this book, Fountain of Youth. And I really recommend you guys getting a copy of this, because the whole idea of the monks were talking about trying to transmute that energy, that semen, into positive growth, achievement for men. And men have that power. The testosterone men have is incredible. Now, yes, I don't disagree that you probably will lose some as time goes on. But if you're not releasing, you're keeping all that energy anyway. So the thing is the only time you can really kind of lose that energy is by releasing it. And of course, you're only doing that to procreate. So we should have a lot of healthy people running around. But all you gotta do is look at what's happening around us, and so many people look like skeletons. And I went back and looked at a lot of the research, even back to the 1850s and 60s, all the way through 1920s and 30s. And you see a lot of articles written on how people are releasing and how they look. And, they're actually scary looking pictures of people and how they look. It's because they've been drained. Basically been drained, and they look like skeletons running around. And so you have to make sure that you're not going to get to that point. But I think people have this misnomer, has been talked about, that you're going to get healthier by releasing. And I just don't believe that. I don't believe that. I believe it's the opposite. I believe if you have that sexual energy, God gave it to you for a reason. I mean, the prime example, you can look at animals. If you cut off their sexual energy, they become docile. They don't become. And this is why a lot of people want that to happen. And if you want to talk about big conspiracies in the world, there probably is that one of trying to decrease the power in a lot of American men over the years, and it's been working. But I think it's starting to change. People are going back to realizing what masculinity really is. And that's the testosterone power. And women, no matter what they want to say, don't have that. They don't have that power. They don't have that. There's a big difference. You can see that in men and women when you look at them. There's an aura, there's a strength that strong men have that women just don't have. 99% of them. I've never seen too many women, maybe one or two down the line. But when you look at this, you can really see the difference when it comes to testosterone. And men have that ability if they are wise and if they think about what they're doing and use it in ways where it becomes a positive force, a strong force that they can control and they can use and transmute into things that it can make them stronger and powerful. And this is what you want to be, because you want to follow God's purposes, and God does not want warriors out there. That's why we call them vigor warriors. Do not want warriors, no matter what the ages are, right? That are not going to follow his word. It's going to protect his word. He's going to fight for his word out there. And we see some changes again happening in society now, hopefully for the better. Going back to away from some of this wokeness and things that we see out there. That's nonsense. That's going against destroying males and females out there. We're seeing the strength of God coming through again. And we just got to continue battling. But you have to be healthy and you got to be strong. And the way to obviously do that is starting with your own self-control level. And as you start with your self-control level, now you add on things. You can add things like taking cold showers like I do, or eating the right foods, where I'm just eating now fruits, vegetables, some meats and things like that. Not a lot of breads or carbs, okay? A lot of protein, but not a lot of the carbs that are avoided. Exercising, weightlifting or walking. I'm going to go some weightlifting now and do some lifting and doing some treadmill and doing some bike and things like that. All those things. Setting up goals, working in the yard. I'm building a pool right now in the backyard of our house and trying to dig out a bunch of ground and roots and things like that. And, you know, you need a lot of energy to do that. You need a lot of power to do that. So it's not that easy of a thing to do. But all those things happening because you have that initiative. You have that energy to do that. You see a lot of people nowadays in their 30s, 40s, and 50s look like they're 70s or 80s because they've lost it. They're drained. And stress is a big part of this. But stress is not going to affect you as much if you're on your journey and on the retention. It's such a key role. Now, we call it retention, but in the old days, it was celibacy, sophism, brahmacharya, what do you want to call it? You're just not releasing your energy. And that shouldn't be a difficult thing. But in this society, we've been programmed to think the opposite. This is like some sort of radical viewpoint to hold your energy inside. What's radical is actually the opposite. However, again, just like a lot of other things, we've been programmed by media, by lots of things, to believe things that are more harmful to us that are helping us. In this case, I think for a lot of young men, pornography, sexual behaviors, all this stuff, out of control behaviors, reminds me of Sodom and Gomorrah, reminds me of Babylon, reminds me of what happened in the Roman Empire, all of them. Lascivious behaviors, they all just got destroyed. All the Incas, Mayas, they destroyed from within, not from outside. And within was because they couldn't control their own behaviors anymore. Over the years, they lost that temperament, that discipline, that self-control. And they gave themselves into desires. You can look at the Bible, talks about this all the times. They give into the sins in the Bible. Nash and, they were chasing other men chasing men, all kinds of stuff. You don't think that's happening now, right? They're talking back, dishonoring their parents, all the things. You don't think that's happening now? It's happening in full force. It's going back to days of Sodom and Gomorrah. And we have to have enough warriors to fight that and go back to the way we were. The way that God wanted us to be, and keeping God in front of us. Is it going to be a continual battle? Yes. There's lots of people who are brainwashed. A lot of people don't understand. They have no belief in God. And you have no belief in God, and you're woke to the max, you're going to, you can't get along with those people. You're going to have to continue fighting those people and fighting the ideas against those people. Of course, I don't mean actually fight them unless you're going to protect yourself. But the idea is that you're actually going ahead and basically saying, I have to fight against the ideas here and go against this. You have to kind of put a stand and say, no, we're not going to accept this behavior. We're not going to accept these ideas. It's not going to be easy, but you have to continue to fight. And that's why we always talk about this as a battle. The battle is to be able to say, you know, I have this energy that I'm going to protect. I'm not going to give in. I'm going to fight against all the wokeism. I'm going to fight against all this stuff that's around me, and actually go ahead and say that God is first. God is, the purpose of God is in front of me. And that's the main thing. So we have to continue to fight and battle. This is why we always talk about this idea of battling on all the time, because it's key for us to put that armor on and fight all the time. Fight against the wokeism. Fight against all these ideas that destroy men and women, but men particularly. All right, my friends. Well, thank you, Solarpowered African Vegan SP. I appreciate that a great deal. Great topic that you gave there. I think we'll talk about that one day again more. I'll also probably talk more about transmuting too as time goes on. But until next time, my friends, as the light starts to glimmer, I'm going to go inside and work out a little bit. Two things I always say. And maybe I'll put the light on first. Oh, I can't do that. All right. First, every day is a new day to a great warrior, and you guys are all great warriors. And number two, guys, we have to continue to fight this battle all the time against Satan, against the evil one, against all this crazy woke behavior that's destroying people and destroying us and making us release and become less masculine than we should be. And because of that, we have to continue to battle on! Have a great night, guys. God bless each and every one of you guys.